russosbrand.com, where the pros are the pros. Breaking down the Attitude Era hour by hour. 24 years ago, going on 25 years. And Jim Cornette is talking about how wrestling is dead. It's funny, bro, because I just saw a YouTube yesterday, and the headline said, Jim Cornette explains why wrestling is dead. So in 1998, Cornette was claiming that wrestling was dead. In 2022, he's claiming that wrestling is dead. I claim wrestling stinks, bro. I don't know what it would take to kill wrestling, because there is that diehard fan base, bro. You know, between 2 million, 2.5 million fans, somewhere in there, they will watch wrestling no matter what. I don't know what it would take to kill wrestling. I say wrestling stinks, and I'm not a fan of wrestling, but I am never going to declare wrestling's dead, wrestling's dead, wrestling's dead. To me, wrestling's dead means wrestling's going out of business, and I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But he talks about the state of wrestling 1998. He says, everything stinks. He cuts a promo on WCW and NWO, but it's a short promo because he really goes on to cut a scathing promo on Monday Night Raw. And he says nobody has respect for wrestling anymore. And bro, that line really makes me laugh, because I've got to ask myself, does wrestling respect itself? Like, seriously, bro, especially today, when you're watching the WWE and you're watching AEW, does wrestling respect itself? So when Cornette is saying nobody respects wrestling anymore, well, it's got to kind of start with wrestling. Then he talks about, bro, this is all a 100% shoot. I was living this at the moment. He then goes on to talk about how he left Tennessee for Connecticut, absolutely cuts a promo on the East Coast, cuts a promo on Connecticut, the traffic, the price of housing, absolutely buries Connecticut. And as a shoot, Cornette was miserable in Connecticut, bro. Absolutely 100% miserable in Connecticut. And listen, man, it's kind of like Vince Russo in Georgia. It's not for me, bro. The South is not for me. The East Coast was definitely not for Jim Cornette. But then he says he doesn't see any wrestling, and he says that management on top is responsible for this. He cuts a promo on Eric Bischoff as a game show host wannabe with his fake hair and his fake teeth. And then he starts talking about people in the office at the WWE. And he starts talking about them that they are Yankees from New York City. So he is 1,000% talking about Vince Russo. So if you didn't think Vince Russo was writing the shows, or Vince Russo had a lot of influence over Vince McMahon, well, Cornette is telling you that right here, because he is not mentioning Vince McMahon at all. He is saying the office is run by Yankees from New York City who know nothing about wrestling, who don't respect wrestling. He wants to see wrestling matches with wrestlers, and wrestling fans want to see a wrestling show with wrestling matches. Bro, it goes right back to where we are today. And I've said this a million times. And it's so ironic that Cornette is saying this in 1998. You've already got those people, bro. You've got the wrestling fans who want to see wrestling. They are not going anywhere, bro. But my job was to get as many people to watch the show as possible. And that's what I did. And I strongly believe, bro, that should be the same exact intent today. But Cornette says wrestling matches is why they call it wrestling. Wrestling fans want a wrestling show with wrestling matches. It's that simple. Yeah, bro, they do. And those fans are still watching. But back during this time, bro, you've got quadruple the amount of fans that were watching wrestling shows with wrestling matches. You know, bro, I don't think people understand. When Raw became a primetime show, the rules changed, bro. Because now that they were in a primetime time slot, they were competing against other popular shows on television, bro. This wasn't Saturday morning when wrestling's competing against cartoons. If it were Saturday morning, bro, that's a completely different story. This is primetime television, bro. They are competing with the other shows that are on prime time. They're not going to survive on 2 million fans. If Raw never became prime time, if Nitro never became prime time, you're talking about something totally different. And Cornette wanted to bring wrestling back. Man, I don't think Cornette understands that concept. Vince Russo did not change the rules. The rules changed when wrestling went prime time. That's when the rules changed. So I would assume that was Vince McMahon and USA Network's decision. We're going to put this show on Monday nights. Well, now the rules have changed. So Cornette warns he's going to bring wrestling back. This is a hint towards the NWA. We will get to that in the weeks that follow this show.